for Alan Noble. Uh-oh, we lost Tyler.
Well,
Oh no.
for a moment.
I'm here.
Right,
He left us.
sure he's coming right back.
Darn it. Well, we
Okay.
got to wing it again, guys.
Okay, are we live? Are we live on Facebook?
Yes.
Okay,
There he is.
fantastic. Hey, we're live, you guys. It's Friday night, October 29th, and this is the ASEA 5. As you know, I'm Dr. Maureen Hayes from Galveston, Texas, and I am joined by the regulars, Jim and Ann Glenn from San Antonio, Texas. Jim is our money man, and Ann is our beautiful personal trainer and nutritionist. And then, of course, we have Dr. Lee Osler from Washington State, former president and founder of AOSH, the American Academy for Oral Systemic Health, and author of the soon-to-be best-selling book, Redox Matters. And of course, you guys, we've been talking about it for a couple of weeks now. We have a very important guest tonight, Tyler Norton, one of our founders and chairman of our company, who's going to take us back to the very beginning and then give us a vision for where we're going in the future. So there's
Your
my
dog is happy.
He's gonna get too. So I will quiet down, and Tyler, we're going to hand it over to you, but we reserve the right to interrupt and ask questions along the way. So take it away, Tyler. Take us back to the beginning.
Thanks, Maureen, so much. So number one, it's a delight to be with all of you. Jim, thanks for hosting, and with Ann, and thanks for inviting me tonight. I always feel it's such an honor to be able to share a little bit about the ASEA story with all of you. I'm thrilled to be joined with Dr. Lee and Maureen tonight. And Dr. Lee, congrats on your book. Unbelievable stuff. Really, really great. And if you're on this tonight and haven't had a chance to get familiar with that, I'd highly recommend you do. I think it's a great reference point for where I think general wellness is going, which is paying more attention to the balance between what is really reductants and oxidants and the redox story. It's central to health, central to plant, animal life, everything that we really depend upon for our bodies to perform. And I'd love to tell you that I believed that from the very beginning, Maureen, but I didn't. My dad, who was a very successful CPG executive for many, many years, both he and I did a consulting engagement early on for a biotech company that was really in the process of developing this technology, our primary and core flagship product technology, which is the ASEA Redox cell signaling supplement. And they had been working for years to find, some real truths about this particular technology. And to be honest, they weren't really looking to commercialize it through any kind of supplement at all. We were doing this consulting engagement with the CEO, CFO of this biotech company. They began to talk about a technology they'd been developing for more than 10 years, millions of dollars that had been invested in it. And my dad and I remember looking at him, kind of almost winking at him, because it just seemed too good to be true. They were telling us the properties of this product that they were working on that would in fact come from both salt, water, and a very, very, very particular process, a patented process that they had patented, done a bunch of research on. And I just recall my dad and I kind of looking at each other, like almost incredulously saying, this can't be right. Nevertheless, we were there to support them on a strategy engagement at the request of a dear friend of mine. And we went ahead and helped them with what we could. And I remember very, very vividly leaving there and my dad looking at me saying, well, that was interesting. They called Dad back within an hour. This has been almost 13, 14 years ago. And they said, look, we were really impressed with you and your son and what you guys had to share. We would love to invite you to sit on our board of directors. This is literally the self-same day that we had done this engagement with them. And Dad said, listen, I'm flattered, but I'm really not in a position to participate unless I have a better understanding of what these technologies are. I'd have to get really comfortable and confident with what it is that you're doing before I'd be willing to invest my time in it. And it wasn't but a day later that they dropped off a box of research from several different universities, including private labs. And my dad began to comb over this research. And a little backstory to that, Dad had run a biotech company for about 5 years coming out of retirement. He retired from Chicago to Park City, Utah, if you know that area. And we thought he was done. And I think he was driving my mom crazy, Jim. And she decided actually to push him out and say, go do something. You're too A-type personality to be in here all day. So he went out and started doing some consulting work, was asked to run a large biotech company that was a subsidiary of one of the large food companies in the United States. I did that for 5 years, had a lab, several PhDs and several masters and graduate students that were working at this lab. That positioned my father well to begin looking at this research. He had experience in that biotech space. And so he starts pulling these research documents, and sure enough, he's intrigued. He starts seeing things about this. Now, candidly, they were angling towards pharmaceutical application of some of these technologies. And so Dad, of course, was looking at them through that lens. But I remember kind of dismissing it personally. And it wasn't till weeks later that he called and said, I'm still in contact with this group. They've asked me to sit on the board. They really have something unique here. And I have to be honest, at the time I was a senior vice president, what's known as a chief distribution officer for a 100-plus-year-old insurance and investment firm. So I wasn't looking to pivot my career. I had just spent 18 years getting to that place and really enjoyed what I was doing, but would help Dad and almost do consulting work as an avocation. I just really enjoyed it, and I loved learning from my dad. By the way, my dog's now barking, Maureen, so I'm glad you can hear that too. We've got all sorts of Halloween stuff going on here, so at our house. So, but it was really interesting for me to watch my dad spend time investigating this. And do you want me to pause and go tell my dog to be quiet, or am I okay? Give me a thumbs up. Okay, so yeah. I remember saying, Dad, you can't be serious. You just can't be serious. Like, this is salt and water. And he said, Tyler, look at this research. And he started showing me things. Now, Dad was calling the lead scientists that had done this research at universities. And without fail, they all kind of came back and said, look, we were skeptical at the beginning, but we're very surprised to find this property or this outcome. And I'm being cryptic for a reason, right? Some of these things were aimed at a totally different approach. Nevertheless, it was a really intriguing set of research that my dad was in fact finding. Hang on, guys, this is going to drive me nuts. You got to hold 1 second.
No worries. So real quickly,
Animals are.
I don't know how long it's going to take, but share real quick what these molecules are before Tyler gets back. Real quick.
Redox molecules are made natively in the body in our mitochondria. They're a part of the Krebs cycle and the electron transport chain. And when we use them in our immune system to keep us healthy and to activate pathway genes that restore a balance in the cell between oxidation and reduction. So we're speaking about kind of a backdoor way of recreating something that the body already is doing.
Okay.
Well, I can tell you this, Dr. Lee, I didn't know that at the time, and neither did Dad. And I don't want to go too deep on this backstory, Jim. I can get down a hole, but let me just say this. Dad became convinced they had something there. He purchased all of the research and the patents to go another direction, and really got excited about network marketing as the vehicle to take this to the world. If you know anything at all about the pharma space, when you file for an indication, you have to file on a single key on the piano, and you stay on that key. And my dad became convinced, because it was cellular in nature, because it was redox in nature, that the use case potential of this was so broad that to do that would be a massive disservice to so many people that could use this. And given that it's native, as you just said, Lee, he knew that it was something that the world needed. Now, fast forward, guys, we're this is 13, 14 years later. We're in 33 countries around the world. If I could share with you the letters and the stories we receive, Dad still gets to this day, of how it's benefiting and helping people at such a basic level. I don't think you'd believe it. I certainly didn't believe it. It took me a long time to gain my own kind of belief in this. And now it's a movement. And I really believe that we're continuing to lead a charge. If you think about it, I've mentioned this in other settings, and Dr. Lee, you can probably clean this up better, but all of the research around antioxidant, anti-aging dynamics, and what was otherwise known as free radicals were pointing their attention at oxidation or oxidants in a negative light. And we all know that in an out of balance situation, in fact, they can accelerate all sorts of damage to the cells inside the body that lead to essentially oxidative stress and aging and all the effects that come with it. But there's an enormous body of research that subsequently has emerged to suggest that the pendulum swung too far on the oxidant space and the antioxidant space, and that the game is a game of redox homeostasis. It's a game of balance. And the molecules that we're talking about are playing a role in promoting that balance in the body. As I've gone out and now obviously have a lot of time interfacing with scientists, we currently have research going on all around the world. We have over 8 science relationships in every continent of the world right now, doing research on our core technology that are already redox professionals and experts. And, without giving any detail, they're really excited to be engaged with us and doing things. Now, we don't know if all that research yields a real clear result beyond some of the things we've already found. You guys know that science is trial and error. But what's exciting from their perspective is they're really quick to see that we're playing in a space where that homeostasis and balance, as opposed to that long-standing antioxidant story, the notion of are oxidants friend or foe? The answer is yes. And in excess, right, can be damaging, but in balance are central to life. In fact, without them in balance, we would not be alive. So it's such a fascinating time to be playing here. And I should tell you also, to my great surprise and delight, there are universities now in the United States that are opening up centers of excellence just focused on redox biology and life sciences. And of course, Dr. Lee, that having written your Redox Matters book, you got to understand that what we're talking about is native to your body. It's what your body does to balance itself out at a cellular level. It's what your body has been doing. And the fact that we've been able to bring a supplement to the marketplace that facilitates that process and supplements that process that's already happening in your body has really quite been revolutionary. So, I'm just thrilled that we are where we are as an organization. As a business, it might be interesting for you guys to know we have no debt, no long-term debt, no institutional investors of any kind, which enables us to make decisions entirely, in the service of our vision, which is to really be the worldwide leader in redox technologies and cellular health. And really, to even take it to a simpler vision statement, it's to take this to the people who need it as quickly as we can. It's really both for athletes that are trying to reach endurance levels. I got a random reach out this week. In fact, I got to see if I can find this and I'll read this to you. I had shared ASEA 10 years ago with a dear friend who's been on an auto ship for those 10 years. Someone came through town and he was showing him what ASEA was. This gentleman reached out to me. See if I can find this and I'll read this to you. This gentleman reached out to me. I have no idea who he is. And this is what he said in his text to me. Tyler, my name is Alma Jepson. I'm a dear friend of so-and-so's. I should probably not say names. We've maintained a close relationship over many years. I was passing through his hometown a few months back on my way to Coeur d'Alene for an Ironman competition. He suggested on my way that I should try your product, ASEA Redox. I was hesitant to drink anything different before my race because I'm a very, very serious competitor, but I went for it. And my race time was far better than I had anticipated. Right. And since then, I've asked where I can get more of this and what's going on with me. And it was really interesting. This is the kind of stuff I get all the time. We have a product that has endurance potential. By the way, that's my watch. Ellen doesn't understand me. So we have a product that's really got a ton of use case potential in athletics, a ton of potential with anyone that's dealing with an imbalance in their own body across a broad range of use case. And it's just been a fascinating journey. And as a company, we're really on strong footing. no long-term debt, no outside investors telling us how to run our business. Really, really strong cash position, very careful business decisions. And I'm going to pause there and just say we're excited to engage with any of you that don't know about us, and those of you that do. You have my heart. Thank you for joining us in this journey. But maybe I'll open it up for questions. Maybe you guys can drive this where you want to go.
We had a meeting today, and actually there were multiple new people there, and they go, this just sounds too good to be true. And
Yeah.
in the investment world, I know you've heard that many times before. What would you tell those people? Because I'm still fascinated with your dad, that he knew back then that there was something very unique about this. And I truly believe that God chose your dad to bring this, and you now to bring this to us. But what was it with your father that he knew? Did he just know that this was that?
No, I mean, I think number one, might be interesting to note that some of you know the story that my dad's closest friend is a former executive that was the CEO of Gillette, Nabisco, Kraft, Oscar Mayer, one of the most celebrated CPG guys in the world. He sits currently on the board of Pfizer and has for over 20 years. Dad originally bought the technology thinking, well, there's something here. I'll call my friend who's on the board of Pfizer and we'll talk through it. And he entertained offers from various pharmaceutical entities who came in and saw the research and said, this is real. We want to play with you guys. The problem was he knew they were going to bury it, and it was going to go through an extended period of time before it would be applied to anyone's benefit. And during that time, as he would share it with people, as he became more confident of what it was, had all the safety data, all the genotoxicity data, everything was done, and said, well, I'll share it with people for various reasons. People were coming back to the house. I had a neighbor that had a challenge. I called my dad and asked him, do you think this can help? I was scared to death to share it with anybody because I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how to talk about it. I didn't know what to say. We had no idea it was redox molecules early on. But Dad had all this research showing how it was benefiting the cell. And so he suggested I share it with that neighbor. That neighbor came back to me looking for more of it. So anyone who's saying this sounds too good to be true, you're just like me and my dad. I'm no different than you. And frankly, I wouldn't suggest you should just take my word for it. I would say it would be a huge mistake for you not to try this, and especially share it with people you care about in your sphere of influence who may benefit from it. Because I can tell you right now, it's not on trial for me. It may be for you because you're early on in getting to know about it. But I left a senior vice president position in a very, very tenured career because this was having a huge impact on people and continues to do so. So, in the case of my dad, did he know? I think he got enough evidence across a broad range of people coming back and wanting to know more about it, coupled with the research he had done and the research that had been done in the past, where he was like, this is a product that has a market and fills a need. I've told the story, and I'll briefly restate this. Fear and doubt kind of on something like this tend to be the prevailing early emotional response to this. Like, whatever, this can't be what you're saying. And I don't judge anybody for that, because that was my disposition in the early stages of this. Fear and doubt doesn't really go away until you have a chance to share this with people and you start getting feedback loops, like this text I just got. This is just this week. You start getting these feedback loops, and they come back from people from all walks of life, whether it's an athlete looking to improve performance, whether it's an individual dealing with a very acute and serious challenge that they've had for a long time, or someone that's just looking to have overall better sleep or general better health or avoid a common cold, any number of different things. And pretty soon you start to get a range of feedback. It would be highly, I think, dismissive to not try and do your own testing with this. Because if what I'm saying is true, and I'll use the word if for your benefit, if what I'm saying is true, the single greatest act of friendship you may have ever been extended is to know about ASEA. And the single greatest act of friendship you may extend to someone else is to share it. I want you to process that for a minute. And I can assure you that if it's not for you right now, it may well be for someone in your sphere of influence or in their sphere of influence that's truly not only praying for something, but looking for solutions that we can provide. I don't know of any better way for you to know for yourself than to move out of a fear and doubt position into a willingness to try it, share it, and see the feedback loops that you get. When those loops start to come back to you, those experiences will migrate you out of fear and doubt into a place of hope. That hope will be like, well, wait a minute, what if this has the potential to benefit people the way it does? Now, I'm going to tell you right now, if you're willing to invest, this is not a one-time deal any more than investing in a Facebook marketing campaign is a one-time ad. You need to be able to share this across a broad range of people and invest the time and energy in it such that you can get those feedback loops. But if you were to say, well, I tried it and I didn't feel anything, I think that would be too dismissive. I'm just being honest. I think this is one of the greatest health and wellness opportunities, if not the greatest in your lifetime and maybe several lifetimes. And if that sounds like it's hyperbole, I totally get it because that's where I was. But I now have 12 years of experience and thousands of feedback loops that make me move from that fear, doubt, and even hope place to a place of belief and conviction and action. And I believe you don't act until you believe, but there's always that moment where you have to kind of lean into, whether it's Jim and Ann or someone else that said, take a look at this, right? You have to learn to take their input and their trust and confidence and say, yeah, I'll put it to the test. I would highly recommend that you not dismiss it because with all due respect, you're probably not here on this call tonight just for you. You are here for someone else that really needs what this represents. And if you'll just lean into it and suspend your doubt for a season at a time and extend the friendship and the exposure to this to other people, but do it in a way that honors their agency, be professional about it, I think you might be surprised with the outcomes. And certainly I've got a very intelligent father who was very economically well off already before we did this. Drives the same car, lives in the same house. I mean, everything's the same for my dad, but it was all about trying to help people in the world. And it has, and it does. So I really would take it seriously. If you're inside of this particular call right now, or watching this on a recording later, there is a reason. And the reason is as much for you and maybe more for other people. And that's something I take really seriously is what can we be doing to help other people, especially at times like these?
That's right. Well, I know for us, this has helped us, not just the physical. Most people know Jim's amazing story health-wise, but it also helped in a huge way financially. And I remember when we did Double the Difference and the excitement to accomplish that. And that really got us going, on our path to achieve what we've been able to do so far. And of course, we love StratLink, but I would love to hear you share a little bit about next level marketing, because that is so much different than what everyone else out there sees or hears. And it's just so exciting, the last conference we had to hear that. And maybe you can share a little bit the heart about it. Some people may not even know what it is, but for us, it's pretty important that people matter more than a commission. It's our compassion and love for people that matters. And that's what makes us such a different company.
But I do want to tag on to that real quick, Tyler, because you said that the single greatest act of friendship is sharing the technology. And the other side of the coin is the single greatest act that you guys did was giving us our financial dignity back.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really humbled that you'd say that. I've been so amazed at the economic potential and reality that this represents for someone that might want to make $200 extra a month to several $100,000 extra dollars a year. I've seen it. I've seen the whole gamut and spectrum. And Jim, you came from a financial services background, as did I. It was easy. It's easy to dismiss these things. I will say that this is real. This is as real a financial opportunity as anything you've ever seen before. And there's no one too good for this business. There are a lot of people who think that they're too good for something like this. You're not. You're not. And if you knew who's invested in this company, if you knew, my dad's early discussions were with a former dean of Harvard University who used this product every day. I mean, there are a lot of very intelligent, very capable people that are involved in this. And so on the next level marketing side, which I think is just kind of trying to put this particular approach to market in a new light. So you guys know that MLM, multi-level marketing, is a long-standing acronym that is pretty well known in a lot of circles, and I think more often than not is indicted or indictable for its approach to the marketplace. And last year, what Dan was referring to is I shared a message that I think we should move from MLM to NLM, what I refer to as next level marketing. And next level marketing is really an approach to a marketplace that's built around humanity, as opposed to the top spin of marketing for economic service or for our own services. So, and I shared this message, I'll just briefly share a few dimensions of it, but the idea is to move from trying to be, for example, convincing to worrying about being convicted. Conviction is the position that puts you in a strength position with whoever you talk to. Trying to convince someone of something is a weak position to be in. Being convicted about something and sharing it with conviction is a strong position to be in, and is a much, much better place to be than simply trying to get someone to do something. So this idea of focusing on compensation in the old MLM world versus, as you mentioned, and focusing on compassion. When my dad started this, it was compassion driven. It was, people need this. And I get it. Some of you may think I'm just saying this. It's okay. I get the cynicism of our world, but my dad doesn't sit around asking the economics about it. He just wants to know if we're getting it out to the people that need it. Compassion needs to be the essence of why we do what we do. And when you learn what these products can do, not just the ASEA Redox Supplement, Renew 28, our VIA line, we have a full breadth of opportunity now. These are all really high integrity, high impact products. And I would submit to you that compassion needs to be the motive more than compensation. If you were to take it from another perspective, the old world, I think, was really, really worried and focused on being able to present. And I think we need to focus on being present. Just these little twists on what is the old approach to marketing? What's next level marketing? Be present. Open your eyes and ears. Everyone you meet, literally high percentage of the people you meet are dealing with a serious challenge. And most of them are in their family, are dealing with a parent that's growing older and struggling with something. An economic setback might be tied to the pandemic or other economic distress that people are going through. People are going through challenges. And rather than running around trying to present your message, be present and see what people are going through and awaken that sense of compassion and awareness with them. And then share something from a place of conviction. When you campaign from a place of conviction, you're never on trial. And it's interesting, quick little story. If you were driving down the street, you saw someone holding out a cardboard sign or a sign, you couldn't read the sign because you were coming down the road, kind of approaching them. And this person is holding a bucket out, asking for a donation. And you recognize the person as you're approaching them, and you say, well, that's my neighbor. My neighbor's panhandling. He's asking for help, right? And as you approach that person, you get closer and sure enough, it's your neighbor and he's asking for money. But as your car gets close enough to see the sign, it says for hurricane victims in New Orleans, and he's got a red cross on his right arm that you couldn't see. You were approaching from this side and you couldn't see the cross on his arm. And in a matter of seconds, your interpretation of the neighbor went from, hey, go get a job, engage yourself, don't ask for handouts, to this person's doing something for others. How is it possible that the same physical act of asking for money, holding a sign on a public street, could be so dramatically misconstrued and misunderstood in a matter of seconds, only to pivot? What was the difference? It's motive. It's the whole purpose of why someone's doing it. The second you determine that someone is genuinely doing this for the benefit of others, you immediately pivot your interpretation of that person, campaigning from that place of conviction that what you are doing is for the benefit of someone else that you have yet to meet. Changes the entire game. And if I had continued to judge that neighbor as I'm approaching that neighbor, suggesting that what they were doing was wrong, go get a job. Don't ask for handouts, right? What I'm trying to suggest to you is you're not on trial. What you're doing is making a difference for a lot of people. If you want to dismiss what I'm saying or get cynical about what I'm saying, that's okay too. I honor your choice to do that. But we live in a world where we're calling each other out all the time on any number of differences. I don't go there. I think we're human beings, and most human beings I know are dealing with some challenge in their individual nuclear families, in their extended families, in their own personal lives. And I want to be present enough to sense when someone is going through something. And if I have something to offer that may be of some assistance, so be it. I'm going to share it from a place of conviction, and I'm going to do it from a place of compassion. If it results in economics to me, so be it. So that's kind of the concept of next level marketing, is when we audit our motive, when we manage that motive and really approach this from the perspective of what is it that I can do for someone else? I mean, the old world MLM was obsessed with being recognized, very concerned about it. I'm like saying we should be really obsessed with recognizing, right, that we need to add value, not trying to be recognized and valued, but adding value. And so there's a pivot. And to be honest, it's a really fine line. Some people will continue to try to optically do this, but not actually do this. That's another part of next level marketing, is pivoting from the optics, what is optical, to what is actual. We should be way less concerned with what something looks like, and way more concerned with who and what we are and what it is. People say to me, well, I can't get my sister to drink ASEA and she needs it. And you guys know what I say: leave your sister alone. Go to someone else. We live in a world where most of the people you see are dealing with some sort of a challenge. Awaken your compassion, be present, right? And then have the courage to lean into sharing from a place of conviction with a pure motive, something that you have. If it doesn't land, if it doesn't match, if it's not a fit for them, so be it. But the integrity is, I spoke from a place of conviction about something that I felt was right. And I like to be almost indifferent to how someone responds to it, because I have no interest in trying to manipulate, coerce, or persuade someone to convince them of something. I simply want to be convicted about what I'm doing. And some of you have heard me say conviction sells, emotions buy, auto ship is logic. Logic pays for auto ship. So if I try to sell this on logic to all of you, somebody's going to go out and be trying to connect all the science dots. I'll leave that to Dr. Lee or Dr. Maureen or whoever else. I'd rather just say, look, I know what this has done for so many people. It may help you, it may not, but it would be a huge disservice, even negligent on my part. I would be enormously remiss if I didn't try to share this with you. How you respond to that is yours entirely. And when you honor that and you allow that relationship to exist, you actually trigger and awaken a sense of curiosity in the other person, because they're so conditioned to expect you to convince instead of speak from a place of convict or conviction, belief. So there's real subtle elements to this. And normally where you get hung up is if you're not doing enough of it. So if you're only speaking to a few people, your motives tend to get over-centered on those few people. And you tip the scale going back to old world multi-level marketing instead of staying true to next level marketing. So the ticker in this, I'm speaking to those of you in the business now, high activity is the game. Being highly active allows indifference. If I know I'm going to speak to 20 people today, I'm not going to burn as much time and energy overly obsessing about what some person might interpret or believe or not believe. It's okay. But it gets harder and harder as you diminish the number of people with whom you're speaking. So, and then people say, well, I don't have enough people to talk to. Follow your dollar. See where you're going. You're giving money to somebody every day to dry clean a shirt or to pay your groceries or help with your groceries or provide your gas or whatever it is. Open your eyes and talk to people. And you'll be surprised if you will begin to engage with them from a place of sincerity. You're going to determine and see that there are needs in people's lives. There are needs. And then you have the opportunity to ask them the question. And the question is always a quest. It comes from the same derivative word. And the questions might be, are you open to a business opportunity, right? That might add some money to your pocket and make a difference for some people. That's a simple question, right? And marry that with indifference, because why? Because I'm going to talk to 20 other people today, and I'm going to continue to reach out to others. And so why do I have to be overly concerned about anyone's response? You don't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Excellent.
You know, like you, Maureen or Lee, I don't want to take up all the time. I've got so many questions I want to ask him, but please, Maureen or Lee.
Well, I'm just thinking this has been so amazing. And of course, I've been around for now 9 years. I'm coming up on my 9-year anniversary, and used the products for about 6 months before I started sharing, but just could not, as a physician, felt like I had a moral obligation to share it with people, because here was something that was 100% non-toxic and yet so powerful. I didn't fully understand it when we first got involved, but it was amazing to see the difference it made when you gave the body the tools it needed. So we've seen this, and we've seen, over these years, we've gone from just having the liquid to having the Renew gel, which is a fabulous product, the skincare, which, we all love, now the nutritionals. But take us on a vision of where we're going down this road. You talk about hitting that one key when we have, all 82 keys at our disposal. Where are we going with this, Tyler, in the future?
Well, as an organization, Dr. Maureen, we feel strongly that the redox space is something we want to own in this industry and in the wellness space, and with a real bias towards cellular health, because it's really all about a cellular level, whether that's cell signaling, whether that's cellular performance, or even cellular nutrition. The scope of our future product philosophy and development is in those areas. And we will broaden our product portfolio under the framework or rubric of redox. That's happening now. We will continue, as I alluded to earlier, to invest in science and research that will not only support our products, but further understanding of redox. Whether, and I mentioned earlier, several universities, if you just Google redox in university, you'll start to see several in the last 5 years are starting to open up redox centers for, life sciences, or a center of excellence for redox biology and life sciences. You're going to see more and more of that. And that's and even the Society for Free Radical Biology, which was so focused on antioxidants, has renamed themselves the Society for Redox Biology. And there's a reason for that. And it's because redox is the homeostasis game. It's not one-sided. And it doesn't take long to go out and just do a little bit of Google. I'm not a doctor or scientist, and I don't need to be successful doing what we're doing, because I know what it's doing in the body. But when someone like Lee writes a Redox Matters book and can begin to help people connect dots in really basic terms, what you're going to see is that we're moving to a place of understanding at a cellular level, and health and wellness is going to get more informed. And we want to be known as the redox entity in this space. We're deeply committed to all of you and those of you that are willing to partner with us. So we're going to continue to try to find ways to facilitate your ability to tell this story. We have lots of different things that we're working on in that space as well. International expansion will continue to happen. My dad had a very, very simple vision, Maureen, to take ASEA to the world and achieve worldwide distribution of it, and really in service of anyone who needs it. So we will continue to expand geographically and internationally, which portends for people like you opportunity. You to be so surprised to hear the stories of people who have global businesses who did nothing more than traveled and opened their mouth on vacation, or who went to their favorite Italian restaurant so many times only to find that a second generation Italian has several family members in Italy, shared the product. We can distribute all over Italy, and they created an Italian arm to their business. You think these are things that can't happen to you. They are a snap away. And with Facebook and other tools, where you can reach all around the world. You'd be amazed at how quickly you can build a global business. So our intent to expand internationally portends and foreshadows opportunity for you if you're willing to take that seriously. We're going to continue to invest in infrastructure in terms of platforms. We feel like we're playing a little catch up. We're ahead of the curve on the wellness space on our products. I think we're just a touch behind the curve on platforming that can support social selling and allowing you to sell these products in an easier, friendlier way in terms of using technology. So we're investing a lot. In fact, I just came from meetings this past week where we were really investing a lot of time and energy around that. And several things you'll see in the next year. I mean, we're launching an entirely new website centered around our brand promise of the company, which is We Power Potential, which speaks both to products and to people. Redox potential, as Dr. Lee can speak about, is the essence of how the metric of redox balance occurs. And we're paying a lot of attention to that brand promise. And we're going to reposition all of our international 33 websites will be completely repositioned around a new brand promise. We're also re-engineering our entire shopping cart experience and our replicated websites that reflect that foundational brand promise and message. And then working really hard towards some really cool products for April. If you have not joined us at a convention or an event, I think you would be really, really happy with an experience of coming and spending time with us, because the spirit or ethos of who we are as a company is so immersive at these events that you come away going, I get it. I get what they're doing. I get who they are as people. I get the community and spirit of what this is. And sometimes on even Zoom calls, as effective as these can be, there's nothing quite like gathering with a group of like-minded people. So I would highly encourage you to consider joining us in Las Vegas in April of next year and really dig in and say, what is this all about? Use the next 6 months or so to test out, share this product with other people with an eye towards that event. And I'm pretty confident if you share it with enough people and with sincerity, you're going to come away saying there's something really special here and I need to invest more in it.
That's great.
Lee, were you going to ask a question?
Yeah, I was going to go back and, Maureen already touched on the one piano key idea as well as you did. If you could just take a second and speak to the skeptical health professional who's saying, show me the studies, like this one piano key idea. One of the first things that really hit me and a bunch of physicians that were, looking at this at the same time was the whole Genesis story. And I know you just went through that a little bit, but there's really important reasons as to why this is where we're at now. And it didn't go down a very narrow channel, early on and stay there. And we see the silver lining of that. Could you just comment generally about that specifically?
Yeah, maybe a quick anecdote to give you a reference. My personal physician, who happened to have been a neighbor 10 years ago, had adopted a son from Africa. Word got out in our neighborhood that particular son had a really, really serious challenge that he did not know of until the child had been adopted and was home. I felt compelled, even though he's quote unquote a health professional and my medical doctor, that I needed to share ASEA with him in service of his son. I called him, asked if I could come to the house late at night after the kids were asleep. This is 10 years ago. Went to the house and had ASEA with me. And I said, I understand your son has a challenge that you've just adopted from Africa. And I think it might make some sense to share ASEA with him. He asked me to explain it. I did the best I could, Dr. Lee, without being Dr. Ty. And he was quick to say, Tyler, I'm a doctor. And I said, I get it, but I'm a dad. And I said, so if this was my son, I would be giving this product to him. And I think you owe it to yourself to investigate it a little bit. He took what I gave to him, was gracious, and put it on the counter. So he was the skeptical health professional, of course. I got a call from him, I don't know, 3-4 months later. And he said, can you come by the house tonight? And I said, well, sure. Put my kids to sleep. I get there. He and his wife are sitting on the couch. And he says, Tyler, in the last 8 weeks, I have had 5 of my individual clients and patients, independent one from another, who the second I've walked in to see them in my office, I've noticed an improvement. both countenance wise and overall, and said, "This is fantastic. You look great. How are you doing?" And they then have said to me, "I'm not doing everything you said. Have you ever heard of ASEA?" He said, "The first time it happened, I didn't connect the dots back to our discussion. The second time it happened, it started to ring familiar to me. By the third time someone brought up the name ASEA to me, I was starting to get angry. And I was angry because I'm a doctor and these people were using what you were suggesting to me. And I thought, this is crazy." By the fourth person, I became both angry and curious. And now I just had my fifth one today. And I came home and said, "I'm going to visit with Tyler." And then he said, "Tell me what this is." And I said, "I told you before, I'm not a doctor and I'm not going to get in an arm wrestle with you about the science. I'll just tell you what I know. And I will tell you this, Dr. Lee, we have a palette of research that I'm unable to reference. I know what I know. We have studies and outcomes that we don't choose to publish for competitive intelligence reasons and trade secret reasons. So there's more going on here. And any medical professional that's truly skeptical, I tip my hat to you with great respect and say, you're just going to have to figure it out on your own. In the case of my doctor, not only did he use it for his son and eradicate his challenge, which his wife came to me in tears to thank us for, he went on to use it for his own athletic performance and all sorts of things that he did. But he was my skeptical medical professional with whom I shared it in service of his own family, who then had to have 5 of his individual patients, right? Independent one from another, then come to him and say, "This is really making a difference for me," to then call me back and say, "Okay, let's talk." So if you're a doctor on the call, I would suggest to you that it's more important that you try it and apply it, because I think there's kind of a double standard. Honestly, I think you guys live a double standard sometimes. You run around waving your hands about everything, connecting dots. Well, I can tell you 10 years ago, doctors were telling us to do stuff that they're not telling us now. So with no attempt to take anybody off here, I'm just being honest. I think you ought to try it, share it with people, and let that be a reference point. We have millions and millions and millions of doses given to people without any adverse effects of any kind. So, I mean, just try it.
Thank you.
That's great.
I'm an ex-stockbroker. I did a lot of IPOs back in the day. And if somebody would have told me what we know we have, I would have thought, oh my gosh, sell everything you have to put into this. Part of bringing this to the market is that it's a category creator. There's nothing like it. And no one's been able to copy it over the last 12 years. But if you look at the bell curve of an introduction of a technology into the marketplace, we're way to the left. We're still way in the innovative. So there's a lot of people, Tyler, that we've addressed that you have to be open-minded, a lifelong learner. And there's a lot of people that are not. And I'm learning to accept that and just like what you say, be indifferent and just let them have their say. But understanding the majority of people are not going to be willing to look at this until enough people start recognizing it. Does it surprise you that no one has copied this, that no one else has this technology?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I remember telling in the very, very early days that I thought we'd have a 4 or 5 year run before others would try to replicate in some way. What I can tell you is the trade secrets required to make this the right way include a lot of very, very specific column dials. And if you get them wrong, it's a big deal. So I think there's a natural barrier to saying, okay, not only the patents, but as you know, patents are a certain level of exposure, and then there's a trade secret side of it as well. Right. And it's both sides of that. I think that's played a role in it. But I think the way I think about this, and I don't mean in any way to over to stretch maybe what this has been for me, but it's a lot like if someone told you 100 years ago that mold was going to play a role in addressing a challenge. If we went around door to door 100 years ago trying to sell mold as a counterplay to any number of challenges people might have, it's not going to, people will be like, whatever, So I don't fault anyone for questioning, the veracity of this or its potential. I fault them for not at least trying it, because I doubted it, and I'm not a scientist. And we definitely have research pointing at what Dr. Lee mentioned earlier, the genetic pathways and the switching. This is a bio switch. That's one way to think about it. We're bio switching. Signals are turning things on and off all the time in your body. How does a cut on my finger know that one cell is damaged enough to be replaced, another is to be repaired, another is fine? This is an intelligent thing we have, this body. And our cells are intelligent. They operate in a very, very powerful way. And I think, from my perspective, this is a space that you will continue to see, I think, grow in the academic space. What one scientist said to me is, to commercialize what science understands also takes decades, which was also true of penicillin. So it's one thing to get to a truth or a clarity. To commercialize beyond into that truth, into a relevant market with benefit, can take a long time. And I think my dad was prescient in large measure. I think he was lucky to a certain measure. But there's no question we're operating where the puck is going on the ice, not where it's been.
Wonderful.
So how is your dad doing? How is your mother doing?
They're doing great. Yeah, they're doing great. In fact, my mom is turning 80 on Sunday. She has a birthday on Halloween. Growing up as a kid, she would make all of the kids that came to our house for candy on Halloween would have to sing her a song, happy birthday or otherwise. I was always so embarrassed as a kid because she would make everyone sing a song, but it was her happiest day. So we're all dressing up Sunday and heading up to celebrate my mom's 80th birthday on Halloween in just a couple of days. I literally just talked to my folks 2 minutes ago before we jumped on this call. So they're doing great. And they're humbled by what this has done in the world. And I think they take a lot of comfort and joy knowing that they took a risk on an idea and a belief they had, and it's made a big difference in a lot of people's lives.
Awesome. Tell Bonnie we miss her and happy birthday.
I will.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Maureen?
I guess my internet is unstable. I just got knocked off. But Tyler, thank you so much for coming on and wish your mom a happy birthday. Mine's on the 4th. So I knew I liked your mom. We're both Scorpios. Our birthdays are close together. So it's been such a great night having you on, telling that story that is so near and dear to our hearts and giving the vision of where we're going and, why this is so important to share with people. So thank you so much for this. This is awesome.
Yes.
And I want to, Tyler, I want to thank you for the integrity. I get feedback all the time from people who take a look at this and clearly, without anybody heralding that from the stage, they see it and they get it and they drink it in, and it just feels like home to them. And so that's a credit to you and your dad and to the team that you put together and the like-minded people that have now become ASEA.
That's kind of you to say. I will say we don't take ourselves too seriously. We do take this very seriously, but we don't take ourselves too seriously. And this industry has a tendency to inflate, what you think someone can be. I'll tell you right now, I hang around with my wife and kids. They remind me who I am every day. We're just people. We set out to do something good. If it helps you, great. If it doesn't, or you don't believe it, that's okay too. We respect and honor that. And I think we live in a world that needs to slow down and be a little bit more compassionate and a little bit less judgmental and do our best to help. And I would just encourage us all to be careful with what I believe is divisive rhetoric, whether it's political, whether it's health driven, let's all slow down and treat each other with the respect and humanity that would really prove that we are living in an enlightened age. I think we need to step back and really ask ourselves who we are. And so for saying that, Lee, I appreciate it, because I hope that we can do great things for people's health, great things for people's financial dignity, Jim, to use your term, and great things for just humanity in terms of how we treat and see each other. And that's an equal pillar of priority for us is to be teaching people basic principles and truths of how to treat and respect each other, regardless of ethnicity, belief, race, orientation, doesn't matter. What matters is we're kind and we treat each other with respect. None of us are perfect. We make mistakes as a company, but we are trying to do it right. So Lee, thank you for at least calling that out. It means a lot to me.
We appreciate
Speaking
your
of-
grounding.
Yeah, speaking of mom, I love the poem that you would read to us that I wish we had time for you to reread that, but it's always neat to hear that on stage. She seemed like a very special, wonderful mom. So y'all have a great weekend, I'm sure.
And it's just amazing what you've done and how your family is going to change the world, Tyler. I know the goal is to be in all countries, right? And we're in 33 now, but to have been chosen to give this to the world,
Yeah.
you have such a sense of awe, of
Wow.
responsibility. I remember talking to your brother a while back, and it's scary with what you have and what you've been given. And please tell John and Nancy, by the way, that we say hi.
Yeah.
I really miss talking to them. They're great people. You have such an amazing family, but
Yeah.
it's so amazing what you've been given, and you've taken such responsibility of it.
I will say, yeah, and I will say this, guys, we are not, this didn't happen because of us. It didn't. It's happened because of you and people like you and the 500 plus people on this call, whoever's going to watch it recorded, whoever's willing to take a risk and walk across the street and knock on a neighbor's door and say, I think I have something that might help you. We didn't do it.
But I'm not trying to, you had something to do with it,
We
We had
wouldn't.
something.
because you guys could have taken that check. Your father could have taken it.
Yeah. And I think, and there's no question about that. There's no question about that. But, what is so humbling to him and to me is that really, really good people, like the 3-4 of you and the people that are listening to this now, really, really good people are willing to take some of their time and some of their talent and some of their most treasured relationships and networks and share something that, we started with. It's so humbling to us. And so I appreciate what you've said. And I give the credit to my dad. With all due respect to everyone else, my dad really was the tip of the spear, but it doesn't take long for you to realize this doesn't go anywhere without all of you. So it's really quite humbling to think of the collective nature of this. And to those of you that are there with a cynical or skeptical sense, I want to respect that. I get it. And, but don't be too dismissive is what I would say. You've been invested to this point for a reason. So find that out. Whether you believe in destiny or astrology or stars aligned or a higher power of some sort, or whatever your background, if you're invested right now in this call, it's for a reason. So figure that out. And you can't leave a room you were never in. So get in the room first before you decide to leave it, because too many people don't even walk through the threshold and come in. And we're inviting you in, and respecting and honoring the nature of skepticism or doubt that we all went through in our own way. So just, lean forward, lean into it. You're here for a reason, and it's probably not you. And as my dear friend Cindy Buck said to me one time, you're going to get paid in goosebumps, and somebody's going to thank you. And it's really, really neat to do that.
Yes, it is.
That's right. Great way to end it.
Tyler Norton, thank you.
We
This has been awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, guys. We'll be back next Friday. Maureen, who do we have next Friday? Dr. Philippe.
Yeah.
Philippe. Oh my gosh. Yes, he's impressive, you guys. You're going to want to hear his
Yeah.
story. So
Yeah.
almost as impressive as Tyler Norton. Tyler, thank you
one's-
again.
Thanks,
No one's
guys.
as fast as
Wonderful
you.
evening.
Thanks,
But guys,
Tyler.
thank you so much. We'll be back. Stick around for the Aussies. They are coming up. He should be popping on any second. So, guys, thank you so much. We'll see you next week. We love you all.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, Tyler.